Across the Commonwealth, Democrats picking up at least 13 seats in the House of Delegates. And for more on the historic night, let's bring in Virginia Congressman James Walkinshaw joining us here for the first time on the DMV Zone. Good to see you, Congressman.
Thanks for having me.
What do you make of last night for Virginia?
Well, obviously, it was a very strong result for Democrats, a rebuke, I think, of the policies we've seen coming from the White House and from Republicans here in Washington. But also, we had a lot of great Democratic candidates across the Commonwealth, led, of course, by Abigail Spanberger, who stayed laser focused on addressing the everyday cost of living issues that Virginians care about right now.
At the end of the day, it seemed as though potentially there could be a split ticket, as we saw the results really narrow there for the Attorney General's race. But in the end, Jay Jones did prevail, the Democratic nominee. He'll now be the Attorney General come January. What does that say, if anything? You talk about the rebuke there, about where MAGA stands at this hour as a part of the Republican Party and with the administration in power.
Well, we've seen attorneys general across the country, only Democrats, unfortunately, but we've seen those attorneys general take the Trump administration to court and win protections for the residents of their states. And I think a difference in this race, the current Attorney General, Miyares, hadn't been willing to do that, not willing to take on the Trump administration. Jay Jones said over the course of the campaign that he would when it made sense for Virginians. And that's very real and very tangible, because Virginians deserve those same protections that residents of other states are getting.
And at the House of Delegates, picking up those 13 seats, still a slim majority for the Democrats. But nonetheless, when you've got those three big tickets and this majority here, what is the future of Virginia? What does that look like with that power?
Well, I think the future of Virginia will be led by Governor Spanberger, and she laid out very detailed plans over the course of the campaign to address, making housing more affordable, making food more affordable, making transportation more affordable, the things that really impact people's lives. And it's really important that she and the General Assembly work together to do that, because unfortunately right now, the policies coming out of Washington are doing the opposite. They're making life less affordable for Virginians.
Yeah, and I think to that very point, we've got a little bit of a standstill here as it relates on Capitol Hill. And clearly, as you know, many of your constituents are federal employees who are now furloughed. They're being threatened with not getting a pay for the time that they've not been at work. And that's going to be a sticking point here in the days to come. But also, at what point do we reopen this government? There's been 14 votes now, still nothing. The Republican Congress people, it seems as though they're still in their districts. They've not been called back. Any talks that you're hearing for the possibility to get this thing back on the road?
Well, there have been more talks in the Senate over the course of the last week, and some proposals being floated in terms of a path forward that could potentially end the shutdown. Unfortunately, here in the House, Speaker Johnson has kept the Republicans out of Washington. They're not here negotiating. Earlier today, the Democratic leaders, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, sent a letter to President Trump asking him to, sit down with all the congressional leaders, Democrats and Republicans, to try to hammer out a compromise. I think the American people want to see us working in a bipartisan way to address the very real healthcare affordability crisis that we're facing and reopen the government. But Democrats and Republicans have to sit down, and the president really has to lead that conversation. To date, he hasn't been willing to do that.
Do you foresee this going longer, given where we stand right now as the longest government shutdown on record?
Look, I think everyone recognizes that, especially with the Thanksgiving travel season coming, we need to find a path forward. I think the results of the election yesterday, not just in Virginia, but in New Jersey and California and in lower offices across the nation, should be a wake-up call to my Republican colleagues that the American people want to see a change in course. They want to see us working to address the affordability and cost of living issues that they're really struggling with around their kitchen tables every single night. And I'm hopeful that those results will bring my Republican colleagues to the negotiating table so we can work out an agreement.
Congressman Walkinshaw, we appreciate you coming on the DMV Zone.
Thanks for having me.